This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here, broker, owner of Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
So good to be back on this awesome opportunity to share with our family and friends and all those listening. And we want to remind everybody this show is driven by your questions. So please send all questions to questions@talkmusiccity.com. That's questions@talkmusiccity.com or hashtag #TalkMusicCity, hashtag #TalkMusicCity.
Yes, and this also is a podcast, so please subscribe. You can call up any of these shows anytime and listen to them at your leisure. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music Podcast, plus many other podcast platforms. And you can also watch the show on our YouTube channel and Facebook page. Simply search the Talk of Music City.
Happy Mother's Day, Carey Ann Cyr.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day. There's few mothers that can, and you're amazing. Okay?
Oh,
you're
well,
amazing.
thank you. There's so many amazing moms out there. So happy Mother's Day to all of our amazing mothers out there that are listening. You know, to be a mom, it's a full-time job, and to be a working mom, that's a double
shout out
full-time
to your mom.
job.
Okay, I'm going to give a quick shout out to your mom. I think she's amazing to be such an incredible example to Supermom here.
Oh,
okay?
well, thank you.
Saying. Just saying. And a shout out to my own mom, too. I'm sorry. She's 87 years old. I can't forget my own mom. Hello.
No, we can't.
What kind of son would I be? Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Love you.
Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. So we are excited to have everybody back here. It's Sunday evening. 5 p.m.
And great to be here.
Yes,
great.
absolutely.
You know, our goal is to always to share the reality of the business of mortgages or buying and selling homes, get folks from behind the curtain and see the facts.
Yes.
See reality.
Absolutely. You know, we want to make sure that everybody is feeling confident and comfortable with the entire process of home buying, right? And
everybody should own a home.
Yes, everybody should.
And if you own a home, someday you're going to want to sell a home.
Absolutely. Hey, and if you want to finance that home too, right?
You're going to want to finance that home unless you come up with a lot of cash.
Absolutely.
But you still should finance it.
You know, I always say that I solve one of the biggest problems in real estate today.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know what it is?
The lack of
money. I always love saying that.
So good. You do that so good. You do that so good.
I know. Hey, it's my day. It's Mother's Day, so I can do that.
You can. It's Mother's Day. You know, we really enjoyed Cinco de Mayo last Sunday and getting to talk about home inspections. You know, that was great information. Everybody needs to make sure they get a home inspection. And one thing we didn't really cover like I wanted to with Anthony during that time just came to mind was if you've been in your home, even if you're not planning on selling for any length of time, if you've been in your home for 15, 20 years, even 10 years,
right,
get an inspection done. Get a separate set of eyes to walk through your home and make sure that everything is looking good. Okay, so often, see, this has happened to me this last week.
Oh, I
sold a home that the deceased husband and the single wife had, or the widower had built back in like 1990, and he took meticulous care of that home. You wouldn't have thought there'd be anything wrong with that home. But I had Anthony come, is our Mr. Inspector, come through the home and found out some pretty significant issues, and we ended up having to renegotiate about $17,000 worth of repairs because of the foundation. So my point is, one thing I've learned the hard way is when I'm listing as a broker, I'm listing a home that's not been looked at by a separate set of eyes for a length of time, like this one I just described. You know, some of these inspectors, I know Anthony will do it with, again, Mr. Inspector. He'll come through at a much lower price, maybe $150, get in the crawl space, look around, make sure there's nothing significantly wrong with this property. And trust me, that way there's no, all of a sudden surprises like, what the heck? Now what do you do? Because, we're typically 10 days into the process a lot of times before we get the results of that inspection back. So I want to remind everybody, if you didn't listen to last week's, go to Where do they go? Facebook and watch the podcast? What's that called?
Yes, absolutely. Hey, just simply search The Talk of Music City on Facebook or our YouTube channel.
There's some great topics. That was just the most recent one that came to mind. And I just hope everybody takes advantage of this knowledge that how many families do you think you and I have helped in their real estate needs combined? I'm over 3,000. You've got to be, I don't know, 20,000. I don't know what your numbers are. When you're doing 613 or plus a year, they add up pretty quick.
They do. But, to even get that far, you actually are helping so many more, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're talking to them and there's a process. So sometimes, we're just not going to tell them that, they can't get financing and we just, end the conversation so quickly. You end up talking with them for a lengthy period of time, to see if there is a way, to eventually get them to approve for financing, part of our future homeownership program.
Speaking of financing, Carey Ann, I'm a big believer that you got to believe the messenger before the message matters. It doesn't matter what your message is if you don't believe the messenger, the person who's sharing it. So can you remind us? I mean, it was just amazing to me that you were number 16 in the entire country of 500,000 mortgage professionals. I mean, that's incredible.
Well,
Middle Tennessee is blessed to have you here. And I know this is not what this show is about, but again, it's really important that folks understand we've earned the right to have an opinion on these topics, okay? And when you're talking about somebody who's number 16 out of 500,000 in their trade, when they're sharing with you how to clean up your credit or how to, consider your financing or what steps to take next, I think you've earned the right to have an opinion. Oh,
well, thank you. It comes with a lot of long hours, a lot of education, and having an amazing team supporting.
Your team is incredible.
Yeah, definitely have an amazing team. We've been together 90% of us 10 plus years, right? And so I think that is the special sauce behind it all. We are very close and we all believe the same things and really making a difference in helping families and really taking the time. I always coach them weekly. You have to slow down to speed up.
Right.
So you have to slow down. You have to ask all the right questions.
Right.
You have to really understand the customer's needs, wants, short-term, long-term goals, right? And find a program that would fit, them, and also really make sure that you are setting them up, to really succeed out there, right? We never want to set anybody up to fail. So finding their comfort level is really important. So I can't stress enough, getting pre-approved prior to finding that home will make the process go so much smoother because you will know that payment is, and that price point of that home is the range in your comfort zone, right? Versus finding that house and then just trying to figure out a way that you can get to that comfort level.
And then watching it leave your ability to buy because somebody else had done the preparation. Here's the tidbit right here for anybody thinking about buying a home, but not even immediately, maybe not even this year. Reach out to CMG. Make sure that you've got your ducks in order because it's funny how life can happen. Just happened with one of my clients just recently. She wasn't planning on buying something, and all of a sudden she was and saw the perfect home and then started scrambling to get things accomplished and in place so she could bring an approval letter. And oops, it's too late. The home is gone and her heart's broken. So.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of lenders out there, that we're very blessed to be 16th in the nation for families served, right? Which means a lot to me. And I really get goosebumps to know that we've been able to really make a difference and to help so many people gain home ownership, right? And that may be their first home, a second home, or even investment properties. We would love to help everybody with the refinances as well. But, we are purchase centric. So we really just focus on helping folks, with the purchase piece of it. But, taking the time and really slowing down is key. So people say, oh, you work with so many families. Do you have the time to work with us? With our team or my team, my mortgage team, part of CMG Financial, systems are key, right? And so, you're going to have the process and you're going to be made to feel as if you're the only one we're working with. Right. And that's really important, I think.
That's the biggest compliment, I think, when folks can feel like you're their only their only customer, their only client.
They have a lot of questions, and we want to make sure that they're answered, and we always say that there's no stupid question, any level, right? Ask anything. We're here to help answer those. We've added a concierge, so she calls weekly, actually, every Monday, just to reach out and see if you have any questions, because I really think that's important, just to make sure you are feeling comfortable and confident throughout the whole process of the home buying experience, for sure.
That person that's thinking about buying a home and they're not sure about their financial ability, can you refresh our memory real quickly? How do you get a hold of your company?
Yeah, you're setting me up here. I love it.
No, but seriously, I don't want them to have to wait for that commercial. Because again, folks, we really sincerely, our whole goal here is to bring value to the community, regardless of who's being used here or not used in this effort. It's not what it's about. But at the same time, I'd be a very, very poor co-host if I didn't encourage folks to make sure they get a hold of you, because I've used, and again, there's some great mortgage folks in town. There's some fantastic ones. I promise you there is. But this lady happens to be my favorite. And I want to make sure that people can reach you. Oh,
well, thank you so much. We have, 3 major beliefs. We believe in never missing a closing date. And I go as far as guaranteeing those. So that's really important.
That's incredible.
I'm a woman of my word, and I will thank my mom on this Mother's Day for really making sure and raising me to be a woman of my word. And so we always believe in staying true to our word and just always finding and doing what's best for both our client and the referral partner. So what I'm saying is you're not going to find that a deal transaction is going to fall apart just over something so small as, a couple $100 or even $1,000. We're going to go the extra mile to find a way, to get that approval done. But if you are someone that is looking to get pre-approved, we do have a 24-hour approval process for you, which makes it really easy and simple. You can always call a friendly voice here at our office, and it's 456-4456. I love that number.
It's awesome.
It's 615-456-4456. Here we go, 456-4456. I love that. Or you can always go online and apply there. It's yourtnlendingsolution.com. That's yourtnlendingsolution.com. So thank you, Monte. We've been working together now, I think, over 3 years, maybe even getting close to 4 years
probably
now.
Probably closer to 5, I think.
I know. We're not aging ourselves. We're having so much fun. But you're just one of the best. And I've learned so much. You're one of my mentors. And so I'm more successful today because, you've been in my life. So thank you. Again, this show is opened my eyes to a lot. So
Amen.
We're doing a lot here. So hopefully educating and motivating all folks out there, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, so we're going to take a quick break, and we're actually going to get started with some really great questions. Thank you so much. Again, the questions can be always sent to questions@Talk Music City, or hashtag those at hashtag Talk Music City. We're going to be right back. You've been listening to the Talk of Music City Real Estate.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Good evening. Good to see you. Happy Mother's Day again.
Thank you. It is a special day. I love Mother's Day because, when you have a 6-year-old, you're like, what is her surprise going to be this year? Am I going to get a plastered hand, I could, or is it going to be a pot that we've painted, So I love Mother's Day mornings because she always has something up her sleeve, and then she makes breakfast. Now again, it's fake, we've got a bunch of pancakes, wooden pancakes, and with the strawberries that are the felt and everything. So
you
that's
don't
a lot of fun.
really cook, I guess. Huh?
No, well, if her mother
doesn't cook.
If her mother can't cook, maybe we should get some cooking lessons prior to going in the kitchen. But she's not.
Okay, super mom, you don't have to do that too.
Yeah, no. I know my lane. I'm going to stay in my lane. Yeah, that's totally fine. It's funny because she's like, Mom, are you going to make that slop? Literally, she calls it slop. And I was like, she's like, it's so tasty. And I was like, absolutely. If you were going to call it slop, it's fine. But it's like the only meal that I actually can make, and she eats the entire dish. Like I'm like, this is kidding. After she eats it, I'm like, yes, success. She totally ate that. It was so good. It's just basically a de-instructed lasagna, with noodles and meat and the cheese kind of all wrapped in one. So it's not actually in a pan and baked because that would be too much time. This is like a 15-minute in and out type of thing. Yeah.
Hey, come on.
We got things to do for sure. But all right, so let's get started with some questions here.
Yeah, we've got one from Sandra from Nashville. She says, my husband and I were looking at new home developments this past weekend and are thinking about building.
Yeah.
All 3 builder reps that we spoke to surprised us by saying that they do not negotiate the sales price of their homes. Is that true? We thought they would want to secure selling a home to us and offer us a discount if we chose them as a builder for our next home. Can you please help? So that's a great question.
Great question.
Yeah, especially with all the construction happening here in Middle Tennessee. You'd think they'd get a little more aggressive on the price, but you know what? I've learned they don't.
Interesting.
It's to our benefits. I'm sure you understand that. We got to keep the prices consistent, right?
Right.
You were recently arguing with a builder trying to build some closing costs. They wouldn't do that.
Right. I mean, we have a situation right now, with a customer. It's out in Las Casas. Is that how you say it? Yeah. Great Rutherford County city.
A growing one. That's really booming
growing that whole area. And so these are all new construction homes. Great builder, and the price point is what it is, and not paying closing costs. You take it or leave it because there's a demand, right? And needing the exact same square footage across the board. That's what they were looking for. That's what they came across and referenced as the builder.
Wow.
So there was no negotiations there.
Well, in my experience, the reason they don't is they want to keep the price consistent, so there's never a problem with appraisals, but I've never seen one that wouldn't build some closing costs in there. That's interesting.
I mean, and maybe they don't understand yet. This is just kind of something new that we're talking through, but, if the seller still nets the same, but again, we'd need to make sure that there's enough comparables. If nobody else rolled in closing costs and this is the only spike, you still could have a situation with, with an appraisal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to answer Sandra and her husband's question, I would encourage you to understand that they're doing this for your benefit.
Sure,
they want the prices consistent. They want you to be making a good, value based decision there, so that you don't buy a home for X number of dollars and you close in and find somebody's buying across the street that was a lot less just because the builder wasn't willing to negotiate. So it's really not just for their consistency, but it's for your security as well. I think is important to understand. Sometimes you can get some things thrown in.
Yes.
Like a washer, a dryer, a refrigerator, a fence, or those kinds of things. But don't try to move on the price much. Go in there with that kind of and part of it, you got to understand. At this point, a lot of times there's just a piece of dirt there. Not a lot of pressure. They've still got to go through the whole thing, though. So whether you're the new owner of that piece of dirt or somebody else, there's not a lot of pressure on that builder, assuming that the market is still moving along like it is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're talking about those perks, we referenced, closing costs could be one.
Right.
So depending upon if they are at the beginning stages of a community, like you referenced, or at the ending, and they need to get rid of, some inventory, and or if they're hitting certain quotas for, the quarter or even the end of their fiscal year. So that's what's interesting too.
The size of the builder has something to do with it as well.
Right.
If it's a real small builder and they've got 2 up and they're finished, then they're probably going to negotiate some there. But if they're starting from scratch, they're probably not so much in any of them because they've got to still go through the whole process.
Right. And some builders actually have closing costs already priced in because they know that clientele that's looking at that specific price point may need closing cost. I've seen situations where you can decide against the closing cost, but use that same dollar figure for upgrades. And so that's something as well that they may incentivize you to close by a specific time frame, or maybe use their partners. That's one thing too with new construction. People are like, well, why do I have to use partner A? Or title company B or mortgage company C type of thing. Those are all preferred vendors and partners with the builder. And understand that unless it's a large builder, a lot of the smaller builders have no ownership in those lenders, right? However, they have the relationship that they know that it's going to close on time. They know that the wire is going to be there, that there's not going to be any delays, because usually within those contracts, when you write a new construction house, if it does not close on time, there's so much money every day that you do not close, you have to pay or something like that, right? So really being open-minded to work with the builder's preferred vendors is something that we talk a lot about.
But let's say that folks have been listening here, and they have you're proving to folks that have been thinking about doing this for a while that you do know what you're doing, and they'd like to work with you, but they go to XYZ builder company, and XYZ builder says, well, we use this mortgage person here, and they're willing to give us, towards our closing costs, $1,000, $2,000, or whatever. Do you find yourself able to match those other companies many times, or how's that work?
That's a great question. So again, I guarantee my closing dates, right? So I already know I'm going to be a woman of my word. And so I'm going to be able to tell that builder that, yes, it is going to close on time. So I'm comfortable myself fighting to maintain that relationship. And usually I'm able to match whatever incentive, that the builder's lender is offering if there's an added incentive there. So that is one that works. Now, there are some other builders that have crazy incentives, that are very hard to beat. And at that point, I kind of become a liaison. I, review everything, help them just understand if that's the right move to make or not. Because, offering a bunch of closing cost, but having a 0.5% higher interest rate is never a win, right? And so don't be, shocked or just overwhelmed and like, oh, I have to go there because it's $5,000, but then they forget to talk about what the interest rate is, right? And so sometimes it is a situation where I've actually been able to come in with a more cost efficient scenario for some of the buyers working with some of the builders.
So what you're saying is somebody who is that far along, or they've sat down with that in-house person, and you would be willing to look at the paperwork to make sure that is the best program for them regarding the finance?
Yeah, and I would support whatever is the best decision for that customer. I've got a family right now. I work with a builder that I've worked with now for over 8 years, have a great relationship, and I understand that I want it to be a win-win.
Landmark Homes?
Landmark Homes. Excited to have them come on the show here soon. I think
Gary or his son is
Nick.
I've known Gary for a long time.
Yeah, oh great, yes. And they just build a quality home. But again, they have their trusted preferred vendors and relationships, and they just know that the money's going to be there if I'm doing the mortgage. And so, but I understand you as the client have been working with bank A or mortgage lender B and have that relationship. And so I want to earn your business and your trust. And so we're going to try to work a way to make that a win for you, right? Not just that you're forced to feel like you have to come to us. We want it to be a win. And sometimes I'm going to look at both options, and one option is going to be better than the other, and or the flip. Let's say I have a customer and they're looking at a different builder, and that builder has a different preferred lender. Sometimes I can match it. Sometimes it's going to be a better choice for them or decision for them to go to that other lender, and I would just help guide them in that direction.
I love that. I love that reality of with how you work from a place of abundance and not a survival.
Yeah.
When you work from abundance, you want the best for that person.
Absolutely.
Whether you're involved in the middle of that or not. I love that about you, Carey Ann.
Well, one thing that I've realized sometimes is they end up coming back because something, with that lender happens, or
something happens.
Life happens. But, and we're here, or what they say may not be. And, we're able to kind of always have that relationship. I think relationships are key in this business, and we never want to break or burn any bridge, for sure. Hey, so thank you so much for tuning in and listening on this Mother's Day. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about what is the better investment when updating. Is it the kitchen or the bathroom? You've been listening to the talk of Music City Real Estate.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here, Realty One Group, Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team. Welcome back.
Welcome back, and I really enjoyed listening to more information about the mortgage the business. Carey Ann, coming from the number 16th loan officer in the entire universe, or is it just this country? I forget.
Too funny. Hey, so amazing team, surround myself with amazing, talented business professionals is how we do that. So they work long hours, they are very passionate, and they lead with their hearts. So
one thing I've noticed about your organization is you really move like one. I mean, you have made it known this is the right way to do it, and everybody has bought into that, and it moves accordingly, in my experience.
Yeah, okay? It's funny. I wanted to hire a dance instructor, and they're like, why are we dancing? Because if this person's doing the tango, and that one's doing the waltz, and this one's doing the two-step, we're not on the same rhythm, for sure.
So critical.
And so we all have to be, doing that same dance. And when we're in sync, which we do, and I think we spent a lot of time training and really going over our systems. And when we're in sync, which we do, just a week or so ago, the end of the month, we were able to close my personal team, 25 loans in a day and a half, right? So
Wow.
you can't do that without systems and a rhythm that is on point. So they are amazing. A big shout out to all of them. So thank you, my mortgage team. We cannot do it without you.
We have more questions here we want to go through. We have one from Mitch in Bellevue. Did you want to read that, or you want me to?
Yeah, so read that for us here.
Sure.
It's talking about kitchens or bathrooms, right?
Kitchens or bathrooms. So we're trying to decide whether we should invest in our home improvement dollars to reap the greatest rewards when we sell the place in a few years. My wife wants to update the bathrooms, but I say the kitchen would be a better choice. We'd appreciate your take on this subject. Thank you so much, from Mitch in Bellevue.
Yes, thank you, Mitch, for this great question. This is a really good topic.
Yeah, so you have made it clear in the past you certainly have an opinion on this various topics about home ownership and so forth. What would you choose? Well,
I think depending upon how bad one is versus the other, maybe. There was one of the houses we bought, one of the stepping stone houses we bought, went into it, and their big excitement, that they marketed on that particular home was they upgraded the master bathroom, right? And so I was really
excited.
What
year that was? They did that?
Actually, it was a few months.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a few months. And again, over the last couple of years, it's been that shift, right, from maybe one color to that gray-white, color. And so I really wasn't totally into it. However, we get into the house and love the house, but guess what I do not like? I mean, out of the entire house, I do not like
they modified,
that master bathroom that they just probably spent $50,000 on, And I'm like, I can't live in this house if that's what the master bathroom looks like, which is kind of sad.
You probably, speaking of retro and so forth, we almost were. You probably don't remember avocado green. I don't know. I had a flashback when we were talking about kitchens and bathrooms. Do you remember avocado green or harvest gold appliances?
Oh, no.
You don't. Well, you missed
actually,
out.
I think back, I see it in the pictures with my mom and dad, when I was a little one.
But they were black and white pictures, weren't they? Aren't they hard to tell?
I think that was color at that time. Yeah. But I mean, things are coming around, right? I get it.
Right,
and everything is so white. I went to in a house the other day and everything was so white. I was like, oh, Lord, I wouldn't be able to move in it. I would feel scared, right? I mean, it was like my makeup on my face would probably be on the backsplash, or the spaghetti sauce that I'm trying to make and my slop is going to be everywhere, that kind of thing. Yeah. But the bathroom was one that was totally redone, and it was so beautiful for them, but not for my taste, right? And so I think that's so hard.
And that's the hard part.
You're like, okay, what do you upgrade? Do you make a huge shift? Because here's the other thing. The master bathroom was completely left versus the whole other house was right. Does that make sense? Meaning the look and feel was completely different. Absolutely. You can't have a modern master and then have everything else, a certain way. So we went into that house, actually ended up buying that house because I loved the bones and everything else, and then made the master more up to my, feel or whatever. But it was crazy to think that person just spent that much money,
I know,
and to say, hey, I didn't like that,
I can't tell you how many times I've seen people put brand new carpet in a home and then sell it and close on it the next day. That roll of carpet sitting out there in the curb,
I know, right?
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. But, so from a kitchen standpoint, appliances, upgrading those. And this last house I went and saw, and again, the price point was up there, but it was a kitchen for a king and queen, right? I mean, the appliances were Mac Daddy. Like, I wouldn't even know what to do with them. They were just so. I wouldn't even want to turn them on. I would think I would break them. They were so good. But what do you do? The appliances, do you upgrade that? And again, what's going to bring you value? We talked with the appraiser, right? A refrigerator is a refrigerator, right? I mean, at the end of the day, an oven's an oven, unless you're upgrading it to gas or doing some other things. That may be a major upgrade from what you already had. So I mean, if the rest of the houses in the neighborhood are all the same, and all of a sudden you're going to do this, HGTV kitchen or, Food Network kitchen, it might be hard to get the value or your dollars back, out of that. So
I think you got to remember that term personal enjoyment on so much of this stuff. I think to answer Mitch's question here, is it kitchen or bathroom? I would agree totally with what you said. Depends on the condition of each.
Sure.
But if I had to choose, if they're equal, I mean, if they're similar vintage, I'd probably have to go with kitchen only because it gets more eyeballs on it sooner and more frequently than the bathroom.
Right.
But I've seen some homes not sell because the bathroom needed updating, or all the bathrooms needed updating. The problem is when you start doing the updating yourself, it's almost like something sticky that you can't get off your hand. You do one room, and then all of a sudden the rest of the rooms don't look so cool.
Right.
Then you start doing the hinges, and you don't realize how many hinges are in a house, or doorknobs, or it just goes on and on and on and on. So always do those improvements with the personal enjoyment in mind. I love the term that I was talking to Mr. Rick Marino the other day. He was in radio. He's in real estate now.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have him in our company. He met with some folks that have a pool, and his question to them was, because we had this conversation not long ago about, is a pool a good investment or not as far as investment's concerned. He said the question he asked was, did you put this pool in for your enjoyment or for the next people's enjoyment? Right. So the point is, you've had that enjoyment, receive that enjoyment of those memories and so forth, and not expect that necessarily to transfer into added value. Certainly not a lot. It can add sellability. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be added value.
Right. No, that is great, because I would change some things because I was going to live there, and the game plan was to live there a decent amount of time, and then found out that some life happened, and we had to make a change,
Life happens.
And so you're not going to get dollar for dollar. I had to embrace the fact that I was, going to be able to sell it, and the items that I did, I love a garage. It's very strange, but I like,
garages.
I like to have a nice garage, have a finished floor in the garage, little things like that, but that's not going to get you any bit of money, right? I like to take the cars out of it and play in the garage, with Aubrey and things. I always saw birthday parties, put the table in the garage, have the kids outside, not in the house, right? But again, you're not going to get the dollar for dollar that you pay for some of that stuff. Now, you're going to get the eyes, you're going to get the interest, you're going to be having some of the excitement of those particular buyers, and so. But
the other thing that sometimes I've seen happen is, sometimes if it's down to two homes, it could the weightier factor could be that item that you're not getting more value for, but you're getting sellability, and sellability sometimes equates into some level of value. Certainly, the home's not sitting there longer than what it should if you need to sell it or whatever, but I think it's the safest thing is always to embrace the idea of personal enjoyment. It's not, you're not going to get every dollar back. But anyhow, thanks, Mitch, for sending the question. And remember, guys, our show is built on the value of the questions that we can answer. So thank you so much for sending those in.
Yes. And, another question here that we have from Jeannie in Madison, she asks, Mr. Mohr. I like that. Mr. Mohr. Sounds so good. My husband and I are going to buy a home this year and want to make sure that we make a better investment this time than we did in the past. Can you share with us things about a future home that we should consider, increasing our odds of making a sound investment? Other than a safe neighborhood, no power lines, what else should we be looking for? So basically, kind of what we were talking about here is always buy with selling in mind.
And that's really the summary, I think, that Jeannie, I'd want you to hear. Thank you for the question. Is do that very thing, is buy with selling in mind,
right.
Okay? As a real
strategy.
estate professional, I try to do that. I never want to look at one of my clients and say, gee, I wish we hadn't bought this home because it's a busy street or a steep hill or a lousy neighbor or anything else. Well, one time, I'll never forget, one time I was fairly new in the business and I had to sell a round home. Have you ever seen a round home? Do you have any idea how hard it is to place furniture in a round home?
No, yeah.
Now, this person thought it was really cool that he built literally a round home. I've seen one here in Nashville as well, off Old Hickory. It's so hard to sell a round home. I had it for years. I had that listing for years. Nobody wanted a round home. Couldn't figure out why. Now, he thought it was really cool. I'm sure there was some reason why he built a round home. But the point is, always sell. Always buy. I think no matter what the topic is, always buy with selling in mind, because someday life's going to happen like we've had so often.
Right.
And we weren't maybe necessarily ready for it. And so that's why you got to embrace the personal enjoyment, But when you're buying that home, always think about, I might not, that steep driveway may not bother me, or that busy street may not bother me, but are you going to be able to sell the home? I had an inquiry not long ago where the lady lived right next door to 65, and she couldn't figure out why she couldn't sell her home. The 65 didn't bother her. Okay. Some of these things may not bother you, but are they going to bother the general population when you decide to sell? So always. Thank you, Jeannie. Jeannie, the bottom line is always buy with selling in mind, and so to know what sells.
The last little thing that I would say is always use your cell phone in that house before you.
Oh, what a great question!
What a great
comment! Yes.
I realize that I have to stand on one leg in a specific room to get cell service, and I would never have thought about that. So that's my little tip. Always, try to talk on your phone before you put a contract in.
In today's world, that's so crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. It's with everything on our smartphones for sure. Yeah. Hey, so you've been listening to the Talk of Music City Real Estate. We're going to take a quick break. We'll see you back.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here, broker-owner of Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team. And just a shout out again to all of the amazing moms out there. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Amen. Happy Mother's Day.
Absolutely. Having a strong mom is not an easy job. It is not an easy job. The follow-through is the hardest thing. And I failed just a little while ago to give a shout-out to my mother-in-law, who actually, I live with my mother-in-law. Yes. Yes. You do. You live with both. Goodness, did you not give them both flowers today? I should have. Yeah. Well, again, to like I said, a mom's job is never done. How we get it all done in one day is amazing. So a big salute out to all those amazing mothers out there. So great questions. Thank you so much for sending all of those in to us. Again, remember, you can always check us out on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page. Just simply search Talk Music City. So we've got all of our segments on there too, so you can check back on some previous ones. And I love this resource. Shout out to Mr. Jim McCarthy for putting this together. He's done an amazing job, and we've learned so much with him. It's so nice to be able to just go into these other resources to listen to or to watch this program. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Fantastic job. Yes. Thank you for sure. Hey, so we were thinking about talking on this last segment, the 7 most common mistakes when buying a home in today's market. I think it's easy to forget those, and it's a great little quick refresher on these last quick 10 minutes that we have here. These are all really, really good points. It sounds probably a little redundant. For number 1, it says, mistake number 1, not hiring a successful, experienced real estate professional. It's like, let's go, can you do it yourself? Sure. You could pull your tooth out by yourself probably too, Sure. Or you could represent yourself in court probably by yourself. You could do a lot of things by yourself, but probably you don't want to, Right. So, and it's the same thing. I look at it as I would never climb a dangerous mountain with the manual in my hand, how to climb mountains for dummies, because you end up being a dummy in the process, Sure. And that whatever you saved, you're going to spend it. That's one of the comments I've always made. I'm sorry, side trip here. That's how my mind works. But when folks go online to look for their mortgage, no offense to anybody out there online that's playing with mortgage companies, but I'll stress with them, if you think you're going to save something by doing that, you're going to earn it in hassle factor. You're going to earn it in disconnect. You're going to earn it in so many different ways. Sure. So, I was that girl who thought I could do it on my own, and you just do not realize what it takes on the backside of a purchase transaction. Right. There is too many calls coming in left and right. There's too many dates that have to be met, and there's many different vendors out there. So having a professional to guide you in the right direction is so important. And not only for real estate, but also for lending, like you referenced. Yes. We just recently this past week had a gentleman get pre-approved, and he was talking with us. Let's just say you as the agent referred him over, but his best friend was in the industry, not with a lot of experience. But and we talked through everything, and it was a challenging loan, right? So it needed white gloves, and you just really needed to tiptoe through that whole process, because one wrong move, things could go in the wrong direction for this individual. And we just got a call, actually an email, frantic email, because I think it was before 6 o'clock in the morning. So that those are coming in with one that is frantic, just apologizing that he picked his best friend over an experienced business professional, and was notified that he was denied, and wanted to see if there was anything that we could do to put the pieces back together. So again, not only you want to interview the real estate agent, but also interview the lender, ask how many loans that they do, how many families that they serve, how long have they been in the industry. I think all of that is really, really important. Education to us is key. Knowing our guidelines inside and out is so important. Knowing when we're talking with you, asking all those right questions to really find the right loan is going to make sure that you don't gamble on your dream home, right? Why gamble on making, working with somebody who's not experienced is one that you're just going to lose out on for sure.
It's not about finding the lowest rate, folks. It just isn't. I've learned so many times over the hard way of picking up those pieces and putting them in the hands of a competent lender, because somebody thought, well, I can go online and I can save a 16th of a point or something like silliness like that.
Yeah. Sometimes that does happen. And again, we have to talk through all that. Hey, but number 2 is not getting pre-approved for their financing before looking at homes. Again, we cannot stress the importance of getting pre-approved. Just talking with another agent this past week, it takes a long time sometimes to court a buyer, to get them feeling comfortable to finally want to go look for houses. And so this gentleman took a couple months to actually be ready, right? Was scared about buying his first home. And, the agent kind of just judged a book by its cover, thought everything was good to go, didn't see any concern about financing, saw what he drove and thought everything was going to be fine, right? And so then they found the house, and now it's time to get pre-approved. And again, the backwards way of doing it, and found out that they were not going to be able to get that approval the way that they thought they could, right? And so again, talk about breaking someone's heart. You want to know that information on the upfront. And you also want to know that information so much earlier in the process, because what if that happened 2 months ago? We could have fixed,
right? Exactly.
Right? We could have put up just a plan of attack, right, to get them approved so they could find that dream home down
Be sure you on that topic, be sure that you understand the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. As an experienced real estate broker, if somebody sends me a pre-qualification letter when I've got multiple offers on the table, that's one of the first things kicked out, because it means nothing. You've got to get an approval letter, and it really needs to be from a local lender that feels the accountability of working here locally in the local community.
Pre-qualification is when you call me up and you say, and again, this doesn't happen with me, but you call lender up and you say, hey, I've got a 640 credit score. I make $40,000 a year. I've got this credit card and that car payment and a student loan. Am I approved? And they say, yes, you're pre-qualified. And so the pre-approval process is when you actually submit all your documents to the lender. And so you'll find that my mortgage team, we ask you for those documents on the upfront, not to frustrate you or make you feel overwhelmed. It's really just to review those and make sure that what you said is actually the truth, and we can actually issue that. Because again, one of our beliefs is always staying true to our word. And so we want to make sure if we tell you you are approved, you are going to stay approved. So
number 3 is really an important one, Carey Ann, and that is setting realistic expectations. It's not uncommon that somebody calls up and says, okay, I'm looking for waterfront. I need 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms. I really want the view to the lake to be really crystal clear. I need a 17-car garage. All this, this really, really high thing, but they can't afford more than $150,000. Or that might be an extreme, but I've seen those kind of scenarios where people just are not realistic at all in their expectations of what their money can buy. Again, it's important to know, first of all, what you can afford, get you that approval letter, and then work within those numbers.
Right.
One of the things I love about how you pre-approve somebody is that your first question is, what payment are you comfortable with?
Right. That's
because
important.
Other things are entering in as well.
Right. Absolutely.
You don't, unless they want to know what's my maximum approval, you're saying, what payment
What have
are
you
comfortable?
budgeted for a house
Yes,
payment?
yeah.
I always say, they tell me they've been renting $1,200. And I say, well, you're comfortable making $1,200 a month. Would you like that to be your house payment? Or do you have you budgeted a little bit more? Right.
Right.
Do you have some flexibility? And sometimes they say, that's a little tight for me. I would like to go down, or I'm comfortable now up to, $1,800 or something like
Right.
that. So I want to follow the lead of the client because, computer systems can approve you for so much more depending on that.
Exactly. That's why I want to make sure that that's really an understanding.
Yeah.
Is that it's not about stressing yourself, it's stretching yourself as far as you can. It's about staying within the confines of that comfort zone.
Yeah. So
Carey Ann,
number 4.
I think we're going to have to pick this up next time.
We do.
What do you think? Because we can't do some of these justice, I don't think. We're just
I know.
keep everybody hanging? Or is that mean?
No, we're not mean. We're nice. We're nice.
It is Mother's Day, though.
It is. It is nice. Guess what I'm going to do a little later?
What are you going to do?
You know what my favorite thing to do is?
What?
Is eat ice cream. When I
Really?
get older, when I grow up.
You were just picking out the raisins on your
Yeah, but I will.
there.
I will save my calories over here to eat ice cream. Yes, and so when I grow up, I want to open an ice cream shop. So all of the listeners out there will eventually go to Carey Ann's ice cream shop.
That is awesome.
When I grow up,
It has been
too
awesome
funny.
to see you here today. Happy Mother's Day to one of the coolest moms I know of. And please give Aubrey our love, and I know she's taking notes on what an amazing mom looks like, and a grandma.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for being here with us and listening. And a shout out to all the amazing mothers out there.
Happy Mother's
And
Day.
we will see you next week, 5 p.m. on Sunday. Thanks for listening to the Talk of Music City Real Estate.